This is your brother G World 7_D. Now here's the book Ancient America in Notes on American Archaeology. All right. I'm going to turn to page 27. And like I said, usually pick up on some of the things that I'm saying and what I talk about. Right? Read some of this and get a clear picture. I'm not going to read it off the phone, so it's going to come out. When I say the words, it may not come. You may not totally see the words as I speak, okay? At Seltzertown, Mississippi, there is a mound 600 feet long, 400 wide, and 40 feet high. The area of its level summit measures 40 acres. There was a ditch around it, and near it are smaller mounds. Mr. J.R. Barrett says, on the authority of Dr. N.W. Dickerson, the north side of this mound is supported by a wall of sun-dried brick 2 feet thick. Okay, sun-dried brick 2 feet thick, filled with grass, rushes, and leaves. Dr. Dickerson mentioned angular tumuli, with corners still quite perfect, and form of large bricks bearing the impressions of human hands. In Louisiana, near the Trinity, there is a great enclosure partially faced with sun-dried bricks of large size. In this neighborhood, ditches and artificial ponds have been examined. In the southern states, these works appear to assume a closer resemblance to the mound work of Central America. The result of intelligent exploration and study of these antiquities is stated as follows. Although possessing throughout certain general points of resemblance going to establish a kindred origin, these works nevertheless resolve themselves into 3 grand geographical divisions, which present in many respects striking contrast, yet so gradually merge into each other that it is impossible to determine where one series terminates and another begins. On the upper lakes, and to a certain extent in Michigan, Iowa, and Missouri, but particularly in Wisconsin, the outlines of the enclosures, elsewhere more regular in form, were designed in forms of animals, birds, serpents, and even men, appearing on the surface of the country like huge relevos. The embankment of an irregular enclosure of Adams County, Ohio, is described as follows by Squire and Davis. Mr. Squire having made the drawing of it for the work published by the Smithsonian Institute. It is in the form of a serpent, upward of 1,000 feet in length, extending in graceful curves, and terminating in a triple coil at the tail. The embankment constitute this figure is more than 5 feet high, with a base 30 feet wide at the center of the body, diminishing somewhat towards a head and tail. The neck of the figure is stretched out and slightly curved. The mouth is wide and open, and seems in the act of swallowing or ejecting an oval figure which rests partially within the descended jaws. This oval is formed by an embankment by 4 feet high and is perfectly regular in outline. It traverses and conjugates diameters being respectively 160 to 80 feet. The combined figure has been regarded as symbolical illustration of the Oriental cosmological idea of the serpent and the egg. But, however, this may be, little doubt, can exist of the symbolical character of the moment. No symbolic device is more common among the antiquities of Mexico and Central America than the form of the serpent, and it was sometimes reproduced in parts of in architectural construction. One of the old books giving accounts of temple dedication to Quetzalcoatl says it was a circular in form, and the entrance represent the mouth of the serpent, open in a frightful manner and extremely terrifying to those approaching it for the first time. On the Ohio and its tributaries, and further south, where the mounds are numerous, the enclosures have more regular forms. In Ohio Valley, very often Their great extent has incited speculation. At Newark, Ohio, when first discovered, they were spread over an area more than 2 miles square and still show more than 12 miles of embankment from 2 to 20 feet high. Further south, as already stated, the enclosures are fewer and smaller, or to speak more exactly, the great enclosure and high mounds are much less common than low truncated pyramids and pyramidal platforms or foundations with dependent works. Passing up the valley, it is found that Marietta, Newark, Portsmouth, Chillicothe, Circleville, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, and Frankfort, Kentucky were favorite seats of the mound builders. This leads to one of the most intelligent investigators to remark that the center of population are now where they were when the mysterious race of mound builders exist. All right, and I'm going to skip further over, and I'm going to go here. Their civilization. It is unusual to rank the civilized life of mound builders much below that of the ancient people of Mexico and Central America. This may be correct, for the remains as they now exist appear to justify it. But if all the ancient stonework in Central America, with its finely carved inscriptions and wonderful decorations, had disappeared in the ages before Europeans visited this continent, the difference might not appear to be so great. For then the Central American remains, consisting only of earthworks, truncated pyramids, pyramidal foundations, and their connected works made of earth, would have a closer resemblance to works of mound builders, to those especially found on the lower Mississippi. On the other hand, if we now had in the Ohio and Mississippi valleys remains of more important edifices anciently constructed there, the mound builders might be placed considerably higher in the scale of civilization than it has been customary to allow. It can be seen with our long study of their works as we know them. The mound builders had a certain degree of civilization which raised them far above the conditions of savages. To make such works possible under any circumstances, there must be settled life, with its accumulations, and intelligently organized industry. Fixed habits of useful work, directed by intelligence, are what barbarous tribes lack most of all. A profound change in this respect is indispensable to the beginning of civilization such as tribes. No savage tribe found here by Europeans could have undertaken such construction as those of the mound builders. The wild Indians found in North America lived rudely in tribes. They had only such organizations as was required by their nomadic habits and their methods of hunting and fighting. These barbarous Indians gave no sign of being capable of systematic application to useful industry which promotes intelligence, elevates the conditions of life, accumulates wealth, and undertakes great works. This condition of industry, of which the worn and decayed works of the mound builders are unmistakably monuments, means civilization. Albert Gallatin, who gave considerable attention to their remains, thought their works indicated not only a dense agricultural population, but also a state of society essentially different from that of the Iroquois and the Algonquin Indians. He was sure that the people who established these such settlements and built such works must have been eminently agricultural. No trace of their ordinary dwellings is left. These must have been constructed of perishable materials, which went to dust long before great forests had again covered most of the regions through which they were scattered. Doubtless their dwellings and other edifices were made of wood, and they must have been numerous. It is abundantly evident that there were large towns at such places as Newark, Circleville, and Marietta in Ohio. Their agricultural products may have been similar to many of those found in Mexico, and it is not improbable that the barbarous Indians who afterwards occupied the country learned from them the cultivation of maize. The unity as a people, which is everywhere so manifest, must have been expressed in political organization, else it could not have been maintained. Then go further down. You see many of these images that they have drawn in the book. How they drew a lot of the encampments, the mound areas. But I'm going to go further down. And I want to focus on this right here. Let's see what I'm going to focus on. Because I don't want to... Because this is other stuff I want to read, but I want to focus on this right here. I don't want to make this too long. Let's see here, right here. The mound builders. The mound builders use large quantities of copper, such as that taken from the copper beds on Lake Superior, where the extensive mines yield copper. Remember I said they used to mine? Not in the ore, but as pure metal. It exists in those beds in immense masses, in small veins, and in separate lumps of various sizes. The mound builders work this copper without smelting it. Spots of pure silver are frequently found studding the surface of Lake Superior copper and appearing as if welded to it, but not alloyed with it. No other copper has this particularly, but copper with similar blotches of silver has been dug from the mounds. It was naturally inferred from this fact that the ancient people represented by these antiquities had some knowledge of the art mining copper, which had been used in the copper region of Lake Superior. This inference finally became an ascertain fact. All right. The ancient mining works. Remains of the mining works were first discovered in 1848 by Mr. S.O. Knapp, agent of the Minneapolis, Minnesota Company, Minneapolis Mining Company. And in 1849, they were described by Dr. Charles C. Jackson in his geological report to the national government. Those described were found at Minnesota Mine in Upper Michigan, near Lake Superior. The mining was chiefly surface work. That is to say, they worked the surface of the veins in open pits and trenches. At the Minnesota Mine, the greatest depth of the excavations was 30 feet. And here, not far below the bottom of the trough-like cavity, amongst a mass of leaves, sticks, and water, Mr. Knapp discovered a detached mass of copper weighing nearly 6 tons. Let me get it closer. It lay upon a cob work of round logs or skids 6 or 8 inches in diameter, the ends of which showed plainly the marks of a small axe or cutting tool about 2.5 inches wide. They soon shriveled and decayed when exposed to the air. The mass of copper had been raised several feet along the foot of the load on the timbers by means of wedges. At this place was found a stone maul weighing 36 pounds and also a copper maul or sledge weighing 25 pounds. Old trees showing 395 rings of annual growth stood in the debris, and the fallen and decayed trunks of trees of a former generation were seen lying across the pits. Presence and section of this mining shaft of mound builders shows a massed copper, the bottom shell, the earth and debris which had been thrown out. The dark spots are masses of copper. The modern mining works are mostly confined to that part of the copper region known as Keweenaw Point. This is a projection of land extending into Lake Superior and described as having the shape of an immense horn. It is about 80 miles in length and at the place where it joins the mainland, about 45 miles in width. Although this district, wherever modern miners have worked, remains of ancient mining works are abundant. Remains of ancient mining works are abundant, and they are extensive of the adjacent island known as the Isle Royale. The area covered by the ancient works is larger than that which includes the modern mines, for they are known to exist in the dense forests of other districts to which the modern mining has not yet been extended. One remarkable mining excavation of the mound builders was found near Waterbury Mine. Here, in the face of the vertical bluff, was discovered an ancient artificial cavern-like recess, 25 feet in horizon. 25 feet in horizontal length, 15 feet high and 12 feet deep. In front of it is a pile of excavated rock on which are standing, in full size, the forest trees common to this region. Some of the blocks of stone removed from this recess will weigh 2 or 3 tons and must have required levers to get out of them. Beneath the surface, rubbish were the remains of the gutter or trough made of cedar, placed there to carry off water from the mine. At the bottom of the excavation, a piece of white cedar timber was found on which were the marks of an axe. Cedar shovels, mauls, copper, gads, and wedges, charcoal, and ashes were discovered, over which primeval forest trees had grown to full size. Modern mining on Lake Superior began effectively in 1845. The whole copper region has not been fully explored. Works of the ancient miners are found at all the mines of any importance, and they show remarkable skill in discovering and tracing annual veins of metal. Colonel Charles Whittingsley, one of the best authorities on this point, believes the mound builder workers the copper beds of their region during a great length of time, and more of their works will undoubtedly be explored when the forest shall be cleared away from those portions of copper regions not yet worked by modern miners. So far as they have been traced, they everywhere show the same method, the same implements, and the same peculiarities of both knowledge and lack of knowledge in the old miners. All right, now I'm going to stop there. All right. I talked about the serpent. You remember I talked about the various different geometric features. And the opening of the serpent's mouth is, like I said, it can be used in the semblance of a sunset. Now, I didn't read the part about them being ancient astronomers. I skipped. And I may go back a little bit, because I should have read that part right there about the ancient astronomers, that they talked about the individuals being the ancient astronomers, how they always studying the sky and charting the sky. And if I could find that part, I did not highlight it, it talks about that in this book, about what the ancient astronomers did and how they chart the skies, and they look at the skies, and they try to replicate that in Earth. And our people was a constant stargazers, the great astronomers. And I didn't highlight that, but it's in this book. But it talks about that, and how our people always studied the sky, studied the stars. So things you can replicate it to solar, lunar, and stellar. All right, like I've always said, this is our history. Our history was not no simple-minded